My name is Ahsan. I'm an editor working in the publishing industry in New York, and I moved here about 2 weeks ago. I moved from South Carolina, and before that I lived in Chicago. I bought a co-op in Bay Ridge. I would recommend Hauseit, and I would recommend it to friends and family, especially if they live outside of the New York area. What we found through this process was that the whole New York real estate market is kind of Byzantine and difficult to navigate. So having someone who knows the subject and knows the agents involved is extremely helpful. And also if you're not in the New York area yourself, it's difficult to be a part of the process, obviously from several hundred miles away. I heard about Hauseit by going online. I was at the time I wasn't looking for a buyer's agent, but Hauseit on his website has a lot of information about the New York City real estate market, which I found helpful anyway. While I was reading it, eventually I realized I didn't know enough to properly look for an apartment and buy an apartment. On the website, it had recommended buyer's agents. So since the website itself was so helpful, I decided to give Hauseit a call and get an agent from them. The partner broker was very professional the whole time. I felt the partner broker was experienced, especially within that area, because she did live there and knew everyone. The buyer's agent, Margaret, worked well with everyone, all other agents in the area. She already had a good relationship with the seller's agent. She had worked with him before and with some other properties, and that also ended up being helpful again later on in the process. If there were problems, again, she would call or email multiple times a day and make sure we were updated the whole time. When I heard about the commission rebates, I hadn't heard about them previously, as I haven't used an agent before, but I thought they were extremely generous of Hauseit to offer them at all. It was just like a cherry on top of that. My broker was extremely knowledgeable, and she actually lived in the area where I was looking for. She was helpful and essentially knew everyone knew all the property managers and seller agents, so she was able to guide us through it. I decided to buy versus rent because I had a job lined up in New York, and I knew I would be living here for essentially the next few years, possibly decades, so it made more sense to me to buy as opposed to rent, so I would have some sort of equity in the house.